Hey, I'm Doug. Welcome to Backcountry Pilgrim, a channel all about hiking, camping, backpacking, and the gear that goes with it. Today, let's talk about foot pain and how to deal with it when you're trying to be a hiker. At the height of my hiking this year, I was looking at rugged 20-mile trails with significant elevation gain and pretty much thinking, yeah, I can knock this out in a day. However, as the year went on, I started noticing that somewhere around mile 7 or 8, the heel of my right foot started hurting pretty bad. Now, it wasn't something I couldn't hike through, but it was significantly uncomfortable, and it was starting to make me wonder if I was going to be able to do those long trail days anymore. Now, I had heard people talk about this condition called plantar fasciitis, which is just a fancy name for swollen plantar tissue. It's not a disease or a germ or anything. And they would describe it in a lot of the same kinds of terms that I was experiencing with my feet. So I did what any good YouTuber would do, and I started searching through different people's videos and looking for solutions. I talked to my chiropractor, who basically said, yeah, plantar fasciitis is really just swollen feet, but it's a swelling in the particular connective tissue that goes from the heel of the foot to the toes, and it forms kind of a bowstring, and that acts as a shock absorber for your feet, but if you overuse it, it can start to swell, and that's going to cause some pretty serious foot pain. Now, he told me it wasn't dangerous or something that was going to cause injury necessarily, but it can be very painful, and so he gave me some suggestions on how to deal with it, and eventually I kind of took all of that advice, put it together, and I was successful in treating my plantar fasciitis. So I'm going to tell you what I do now before, during, and after a hike that takes care of that problem for me. The first thing I did is ditch my old shoes. I did a video earlier on how to tell when your shoes are busted, and these are definitely busted. And the problem with busted shoes is that they don't support your foot correctly anymore, and that can cause you to have foot roll and a lot more impact, and if the shoe isn't supporting you, your foot's doing all the work, and that can cause problems. So I had to say goodbye to many of my beloved hiking shoes. I'm so sorry, but it's you, not me. After ditching the problematic shoes, I then turned to the insoles in the shoes I was wearing. Now, most shoes, no matter how nice or expensive they are, come with pretty crappy, useless, thin insoles. These things need to go. Now, I have never been one to buy expensive insoles. The idea of spending $50 or $60 or more on an insole, something to put in that expensive shoe that cost 40 or 50% as much as the shoe itself, was just something that was difficult for me to get over. However, I came to realize that as far as bodily organs go, your feet are pretty much the most important part of a hiking trip. As long as you're not starving or freezing or falling off something high, your feet are the part of your body that you need to take the most care of when you're hiking. They are, in fact, the part of your body that will probably keep you from starving or freezing or falling. So if you're having significant difficulties with your feet, it is worth a little extra money to take care of them. So I went out, and the good people at REI put me on this cool machine and talked to me about the issues I was having, and they suggested Superfeet insoles. Now, I had heard of these before, people raving about these things, especially for dealing with foot pain, so I decided to try them out. The first thing I noticed is just how much better build goes into these insoles. I mean, these things are not floppy, they are extremely strong. In fact, you don't really conform them to the shoe, you conform the shoe to them. And these things were amazing. I popped these into my Ultraventure 2s and went on the longest hike I've ever gone on in one day, 22 miles. At about mile 7, I started feeling the heel pain coming on, and I thought, oh man, I just spent $60 on these insoles and they're not working. However, what was amazing was that by the end of the 22-mile hike, I did not feel any worse than I did at mile 7. So it wasn't like a miracle cure or anything. However, I felt so much better. Now that covers what I did prior to my hike, but there are a couple of things that I've been doing during my hikes that have also helped. One of them is the only solution I used to have, which is good old vitamin I, ibuprofen. Not something you want to be taking a lot of, but if it's not part of a pretty regular regime for you, it shouldn't be too detrimental to your health. But ibuprofen is an anti-inflammatory. It's not just a pain reliever. And because plantar fasciitis, anything with an itis at the end, is a swelling issue, ibuprofen can be very helpful in just kind of calming everything down during your hike so that you don't develop into a serious problem. And part of the problem with plantar fasciitis is that the pain in your foot doesn't just stay there. Your body starts to compensate for that pain, and that can lead to ankle problems, knee problems, hip problems, back problems. It's a whole radiating series of medical issues that can come from trying to compensate for the pain that the relatively minor plantar fasciitis is giving you. So it's not just about helping you muscle through the pain, it is also about keeping your body in line and with the correct posture and gait and everything else that keeps you healthy when you're moving. Another thing I did during the hike was I started doing stretches more often, and these are stretches specifically designed to help with plantar fasciitis. And basically what you're looking at is some kind of reverse bend on your foot that gets your toes kind of pointed up toward the sky. And you can do this by stepping on a rock or up against a tree. If you keep your legs straight and can kind of lean into it, that stretches that plantar fascia tissue and helps it calm down and stop swelling. Another thing you can do, whether you're on trail or at home, is take some kind of strap, wrap it around the top part of your foot on your toes, and straighten your leg out and gently pull the strap back, and that bends your foot into the correct position for helping with the plantar fasciitis. Now, this is a climbing sling. It's basically just a big loop of material. This doesn't weigh a whole lot. I can bring this with me, and I can even do some of the stretching from standing, or if I'm sitting down taking a break, I can just take my shoe off real quick, wrap this around, and give it a nice pull. Finally, I want to talk about some recovery methods that I have discovered that work very well after a hike. The first one, and pretty much everybody talks about this, is good old ice. Freezing a typical water bottle makes an amazing roller for your feet. Not only does this provide a great rolling action to work out the tissue in your feet, but the cold helps immensely. Ice is like a magic element when it comes to body issues, and if you're familiar with its properties, you'll know that this is a tremendous solution to help you deal with plantar fasciitis. This is a good thing to do right away in the morning, in fact. You can just roll out of bed, grab one of these, and start rolling your feet before you even stand up the first time, because often people with this problem suffer in the mornings, even more than they do when they're walking or standing or hiking. So having one of these available to you is a great idea. Now, having a frozen water bottle within reach or with you in a backpack or at work isn't always a very practical solution. And so one piece of gear that I have recommended for quite some time is the Rology Cork massage ball. This thing is amazing. It weighs almost nothing, and yet it's like the perfect size for getting a good roll on your muscles, tendons. This thing has been amazing for me. I can use it on long hikes. I can bring it with me to work and just, roll my feet across it under my desk. It weighs very little, so it's not difficult to pack. If you're on a long range hike or multiple nights, you can use this for recovery at the end of the day. There is no reason not to have one of these. Now, I have links to all of this gear in the description of the video below. Clicking those links does help the channel, so if you're looking to pick up some of this gear, I'd appreciate it if you use those links. After putting this regime together, I experienced a whole new lease on life as far as hiking goes. In the space of 10 days, I did my longest hike ever, 22 miles. 2 days later, I did the hardest trail in Yosemite Valley, Snow Creek, which rises 2,650 feet in 2 miles, plus 8 more miles on either end of that. And then a week later, I climbed Mount Talac in South Lake Tahoe, another 10-mile, 3,000-foot climb, and my feet felt better than they had just a month earlier on an 8 to 10 mile hike. So these methods and gear have worked out well for me. If you have suffered from plantar fasciitis and you've discovered some method for treating it that I did not list here, please let me know in the comments, because I am all about staying healthy on the trail. I hope this video has been informative. If it has, would you mind giving the video a like? I would appreciate it. And if you're not a subscriber to Backcountry Pilgrim, you can click that red button and also click that bell if you want to be notified when new videos come out. Until next time, I'm Doug. This is Backcountry Pilgrim. Take it easy.